Everybody remembers their first wave, that first big break, on stage, on the field, in business, wherever it hit you. Mine came in the ocean. I'm David McClymont, former competitive surfer, now CEO of Palm Beach Symphony. This is Waves of Success. My guest today is Madean Gilzene, founder, president, and CEO of Extraordinary Kids Foundation, founder of QLH Kids, a licensed medical child care center in Lake Worth serving 60 medically complex children?
Yes.
And owner of Echelon Executive Suites and our studio right here where we're recording this podcast, serving businesses and entrepreneurs. She is a 14-year healthcare executive, a trustee member of the Palm Beach Chamber, for which I'm also part of that as well, and one of the most purpose-driven leaders I have encountered in this community. Madean, welcome to Waves of Success.
Oh, thank you for having me, David. Who wrote that? That was so good.
I wrote that. Thanks for being here.
Of course.
This is serendipitous, right? Before we get into the questions and the program and everything else, I think sometimes in life you have those magic moments.
Yes.
I call them where atoms collide. Mm-hmm. And I walked into the studio to relaunch my podcast with Paul Clark and had the pleasure of meeting you, and the rest is history.
Literally
It was only about a
history.
month ago, and I was so touched by your story that I invited you to be on Waves of Success so that you can share your story, which I think is so incredibly inspiring, both personally and professionally.
Thank you so much. It was definitely meant to be.
It was, wasn't it? So it's exciting to have you. Let's talk about how you got started. I was so moved when you told me your story. And for the listeners, your son's diagnosis came when he was 9 months old.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Take me back to that moment. And what did you feel and what did you decide at that time?
Well, I was 16 years old and unexpected pregnancy, right? And so at the time that I had my son, I already was facing so much challenges and hardships of just navigating life as a teen mom. And so I remember him not meeting his milestones. And then, you know, those around me and even the doctors kept saying, oh, he'll catch up because he was also premature. And so they're like, oh, he'll catch up. But he never did. And so I remember taking him to a neurologist to get him, you know, checked out. And they gave me the unfortunate news that he would be permanently disabled and has a pretty severe case of cerebral palsy. And so my world was turned upside down. At the time, I was preparing to go off to college, which was already going to be an arduous task. But finding out about his diagnosis, it just seemed like everything just came crashing down, to be honest with you. So yeah, that was my introduction to adversity.
So most parents in that situation are consumed by the immediate, the doctors, the therapy, the day-to-day. You started building.
Yeah.
Talk about that. I was so moved by that.
Yeah.
You know, when did the idea of turning this into a foundation first enter your mind?
So it didn't enter my mind until years later. I think my son was about, I would say like 10 or 11 at the time. When I was in college, I had my son with me the whole time, and I faced so many challenges with navigating the healthcare system with a special needs child, not knowing where to put him as far as daycare services and things of that nature. So my son was in a infant room till the age of 5 because it was a traditional daycare and it was a safety concern because he didn't walk. He only crawled on his stomach, so they were afraid the kids would like trample on him. And so these experiences kind of shaped me. And I remember at the time my son was about 10 or 11, and I had a friend of mine whose son actually has cerebral palsy as well. We went to high school together. And I remember she called me and she was also venting her frustrations about the fact that she can't find placement, proper placement for her son. And I was like, I know that all too well. And she literally said, you should start one. And I go, huh? And after she said it, and after I kind of like laughed it off, like immediately after, I kind of went, yeah, I should, because I'm uniquely qualified to do that. So it wasn't a plan.
21 at that time, right? If he was 5 and I do the arithmetic, you were approximately 21.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
had you already finished? You were still in college?
I was still in college, and I didn't start it until years later. But it planted the seed. It planted the seed. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then graduating college, you got into the healthcare industry.
Yes.
Right, where you worked in
nursing
Healthcare
homes.
as an executive
Yes,
in
so I
leadership
was
for 14 years, I believe.
I was actually one of the youngest nursing home administrators in the state of Florida. So I started my nursing home career when I just graduated at 23. And so I was running buildings in Boca Raton and, I did an amazing job. I was very good at what I did. My degree was in healthcare administration. And so that kind of launched me out and was actually very beneficial because it taught me a lot of things that I use now just from, operating facilities.
Did you go into that because of your son's diagnosis?
I believe so, yes. I
Reflecting
always
back on
knew,
it?
that I wanted to give back in that way. And at first I was going to be a nurse. And then literally my sophomore year, I was like, I don't think I want to do like the hands-on care, but I still want to be able to affect change. And I still want to be able to ensure, that services are well. And I remember talking to one of my professors and they're like, well, you can do administration. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So it gave me the best of both worlds where I was able to have the business piece and the clinical side as well.
When did you found Extraordinary Kids Foundation?
2016, so 10 years ago. September will be 10 years, yeah.
Incredible. And talk about that.
So that literally was also a godsend. So when I looked around and I saw, what was in the county for special needs and medically complex children, I didn't really see much that focused on like the medical complexities of the child. I didn't really see much that focused on the care piece that's required. Children like ours require nursing care. Some of them are on oxygen. They have tracheostomies and ventilators. Like they're very complex children. You cannot put them in a regular daycare setting, right? And so for me, I just saw this need and I was like, okay, how do I fill that gap? So I tried to build two programs. One was the Special Needs Child Care Center, the Medical Child Care Center, but the other one was the parental support piece because I knew all too well from going through it myself what it's like navigating that and not having the right information because people don't even know what to tell you because the majority of people, their kids are typical, right? And so you can't really go to your neighbor and say, hey, where do I put my son that has autism and is dual diagnosed? Oh, and he has a peg tube, so he has to be fed through a tube in his stomach. Like, you get what I mean? So for me, it was really from a place of knowing the pain point. I always like to tell people that my pain became my purpose. And that's exactly why I started Extraordinary
But
Kids.
it sounds to me like it's education, it's knowledge, it's connectivity, it's a roadmap of people knowing what to do if they're faced with that challenge.
Exactly.
Which is critical.
Exactly.
QLH Kids, it's licensed for 60 medically complex children. So this is not a passion project. This is a fully operational medical facility.
Oh, yeah.
So walk me through what it took to build that from the ground up.
It was challenging. It was challenging from a licensing standpoint because like the municipalities didn't really know like what we are or what we were trying to do. And so when I kept trying to tell them, we're a daycare, but we're really not, it's more medical. Like I have nurses that give treatments. So that was challenging in itself, was like finding the right location, finding a municipality that could do it. We had to do change of use through the town just to be able to operate. Then there came the task of finding the nurses because we're staffed with licensed nurses, RNs, LPNs, and then even our aides they have certifications, either CNA or HHA. So that was challenging too, finding people that had pediatric experience and people that cared because we just didn't want anybody. One thing that helped me was that my mom is a registered nurse. So she actually came on board and was one of my first clinical staff and is now our administrator for the last 10 years. And so she left her career at JFK Medical Center to come and be boots on the ground and run the facility. Because one thing with me is that I have a big thing about the care that we provide. It needs to be excellent. I need those children to be watched meticulously. I need them to be well cared for. So the only person I could think of that was better than me was my mom. So she's been on board and she's been, helping. And we have amazing staff. Like God has blessed us so much that all the staff that we have, they've been with us for a long time. Like I'm talking 7, 8, 9 years, even the therapists, because we provide physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. They've all been with us for so long. It's a family at this point.
But you also run a food distribution and outreach program within the foundation?
Yes, we do. Yes.
So I know this personally. Most nonprofit leaders usually pick one lane, right? And obviously mine's the symphonic world, but you picked multiple.
Yeah.
So how do you think about the scope and when to expand versus when to go deeper? Because that's obviously
Yeah,
a juxtaposition.
that's always a challenge. That's always a challenge. But I think with me, I tend to look at what the need is. And so for me, when I began to see that the county was changing so much, just not even just the county, the United States, the world, from an economic standpoint, things were getting harder and harder. And so I looked around and I'm like, people can't buy groceries. Not just the constituents that we serve, not just the families we serve, but just everyday people. And so I was like, okay, what can I do? And then God had blessed me with this building. And so it was just the right timing. And I said, you know what? I'm going to turn a portion of this building into our provision center where we're able to give out food, give out clothing, give out prayers, just be able to come alongside the community. And so for me, as a nonprofit founder, I never want to get tone deaf to what's really going on, right? And so sometimes that requires us to shift. It requires us to pivot, And so for me, it was just a natural pivot given what's going on economically for us to launch.
I love that you talked about that because I think successful business leaders, Madean, have to keep their finger on the pulse, and they have to not be afraid to take a chance to pivot.
Yeah.
Right? And both personally and professionally, I think all of us can get into a routine.
Yep.
And you can get into a rut. So I commend you for that.
Thank
with
you.
having the ability to pivot at that time. Talking about pivoting, we sit here in Echelon Executive Suites, and let me tell you what, I've walked around this facility, and it is executive. It's beautiful.
Oh,
you have done
thank
such a
you.
good job. You and I had talked during our first meeting about what a great job you've done. One of your many talents, I say, is also interior design. You've done a beautiful job with this building, but here we sit in our studio, which is also within Echelon Executive Suites. As a hub for entrepreneurs and small businesses, what is the thread that connects those two missions for you?
Well, for me, it's also giving back. It's just to another population. So for me, it's giving back to the entrepreneurs and the small businesses and other nonprofits as well. So we house 5 different nonprofits right here at Echelon. And so because we provide affordable office spaces, nonprofits that may not be able to afford an office space, may not be able to have somewhere to do their board meetings, they're able to do that. So to me, it's all about giving back in whatever way that I can, in whatever avenue God places me in. So I find myself wherever the lane is, I constantly find a way to give back.
You and I were talking, and you said that purpose before profit is your philosophy. So, but you've built a real organization with real operations, real staff, and real budgets. How do you hold both things at the same time?
It isn't easy to balance, but you have to balance. And the way I look at it, the success that I have on my for-profit side allows me the freedom to do more on my nonprofit side. So it's very much related. You need revenue to expand your mission. You need revenue to expand your impact. So those two things for me are not in competition. As a matter of fact, they work in tandem. Many nonprofits go under because they don't have the adequate financial support and the adequate resources. So I've made it my business to ensure that our nonprofit can go on in perpetuity. 100 years after I'm gone, I want Extraordinary Kids to still be here. So it just has to go hand in hand.
I think that's something that's happened in the last 10 or 20 years with nonprofits, is that nonprofits, Madean, have realized that to be successful and sustainable, you have to run it like a business.
You do.
Right? Obviously, you want to focus on the mission, and that's
Correct.
the philanthropic side of it, but it is a business at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And obviously, the more successful that you can run that business,
Exactly.
and the more funds you have to be able to make more impact,
Exactly.
which is the model that you're creating right now. Yes. You're a mother of 3,
Yes.
a CEO, a founder, and an advocate simultaneously.
Yes.
I was kidding earlier when I met you, and I said, you're Forrest Gump. You really are. Like, what can't you do?
Literally.
We could probably do another podcast about all
Just
the other
about
hidden
that.
talents that you have.
Right.
But what does your day actually look like, and what have you had to let go
Oh my gosh.
to make work? And I ask that question because I think what happens as we become more successful in life and more busy in life, what happens is that people love to come to us to ask us to help. Sit on a board, sit on a committee, and it's very easy for us to say yes in the beginning.
Yeah.
One of the most difficult things I have found is learning how to say no.
No.
And balance it.
Yes.
How are you doing that?
Oh my goodness. I honestly think there is no such thing as balancing. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. If I'm killing it in one area, I'm probably failing it in another. And I just literally take turns. So one week I'm the best mom ever. I took my kids to the trampoline park. And then the next week they haven't seen me for days because I'm coming home at 11 o'clock at night, right? So I start my day by trying to be intentional about getting in tune with myself. So I pray, I try to like sit and just, figure myself out before I even pick up my phone, before I even start on my many to-do lists, right? And then it's just kind of whatever comes up. But what I've been trying to do now, as I realize that I'm getting busier and busier, and like you said, the needs and the people that want access to you grows, is trying to create systems, right? And those systems sometimes are through people, right? So I have a director of operations that I just hired who is taking some of that everyday decision-making burdens off of my plate. And then some of it is just systems. Like, if somebody wants to speak with me and they want to have like an official meeting, like they have to use a link to book and, and for me to be able to schedule it versus just these random pop-ups during the day. Because you'll spend your time chasing all these things. And at the end of the day, you're like, what did I really get done today? What did I really accomplish? And then you kind of do it all over again. So I think the higher that we climb as CEOs, and I'm sure you know this, David, you do have to have boundaries. You do have to carve out intentional time for vision casting, for rest. That's something that I'm big on. Like, I've just implemented that Fridays will now be my rest days. I'm not doing any work. I will go to the spa. I will hang out with my kids, and that's just my non-negotiable. And it's something that I have to do to keep myself in line, because you can become burnt out, and a burnt out CEO is not a good CEO.
No, and you don't sustain the mission by being able to do that either. I think you and I both know there have been many studies on the 4-day work week. Europe is embracing that.
Yes.
I think it's something that all of us have to realize is that sometimes, not suggesting that you work less, right? Because we have heavy workloads and we have to get things done. But there is a balance sometimes in just taking a break, even if it's a half day, and recharging those batteries and re-energizing yourself.
Yes.
And you find yourself actually being more productive.
I'm telling you.
In doing it.
I'm telling you, it happens every time.
And
every time I unplug, I'm like, oh, and I have this new idea and I want to do this, or I'll see this that's not working. I'm like, okay, this is how we fix it, but you have to rest.
And I appreciate you talking about process, right? Because I'm very process driven. I have a Six Sigma degree from Purdue.
Wow.
So it's all about process. And I have found in running businesses that it's people, process, and product, right? It's the three P's, as Marcus says on The Profit. How are you using the 3 P's here? You've already touched about human capital. And to me, that's another very important one. If we want to be successful as CEOs, we have to hire the right people.
Yes.
Right, good to great, get all the right people on the bus.
Yes.
Get them seated in the right seat, and then chart the course.
Yep, absolutely.
So how are you running the business with the 3 Ps?
So as far as a process standpoint, I'm constantly looking at our SOPs, our standard operating procedures, right? And what happens a lot of times is people kind of forget about that. But what happens when you forget about that is it requires a person, because everything is in one person's mind. And that was my problem too for a long time. Everything was in my head. It was housed in my head. So I began to take it out of my head and create documented processes and policies for how things are supposed to run, how things are supposed to go. So if you filled in for me for a day, you would know, okay, this is what happens with that. This is what happens with this. So I think that process piece is so, so important. And that process piece does affect your product. Because if every time a person comes in contact with you or your business or organization, there's a different feel, a different this, a different that, that tells me that there's not a process in place to ensure that continuity, right? So whether I was here today or not, you should still get the same level of service and the same level of product as if I was. Because my team has been trained, right? The people, the process is in place, and then the product is able to be given at an excellent standard because of that.
As a business leader, that's one of the most important things I find in small to medium-sized companies that are growing, is taking all of that institutional equity that's in the mind and truly putting it on paper. In the begining, it's a heavy lift. It takes time to put it together. It's not a short fix, but once you do, then it's almost like an owner's manual for a car.
Yes.
Right? Or anything else that we use that requires us to understand that vehicle.
Yep.
The business is a vehicle, and you have to put together these SOPs. So I really appreciate you sharing that for the listeners. And I encourage listeners that listen to this to also consider adopting that as well. It's transformed the companies that I've been a part of, is putting together that roadmap, as I'm sure it has for you too.
It truly has.
You operate in a world where funding is never guaranteed.
Never.
And I can relate to that too. Right? We wish it was.
Yes, we
wish
do.
we had the little money fairy. But in the nonprofit world, you don't.
Right.
So what do you do when the pressure peaks? And I know that we've both had similar stories, but share with our listeners how you've overcome some of those challenges where maybe you had a particular funding source that dries up, it goes away, something happens.
Yeah.
How are you pivoting and overcoming those challenges?
I think that is the word, is pivoting, right? So for me, we have to achieve our mission. So if it takes us cutting back, sometimes robbing Peter to pay Paul, we might have to downsize something or look at a system that maybe is not needed, right? And then put that funds into the actual things that are client facing, then that's what we do. We're constantly figuring out how to shift. And I feel like nonprofits are the masters at that. Like, we're the masters at doing the most with the least. And I've mastered that over the years. And also, I think it comes from my childhood, right? So I grew up in Jamaica where like we didn't have much resources. So I know how to make a dollar stretch. I know how to make 50 cents stretch. We're gonna make it work. And I think that's one of the things that we always have to have in the back of our minds, is that sometimes I call it feast or famine. So either you have like this abundance of resources and funding, or that you have nothing. There's no in between. And so one of the other things for me is saving for a rainy day. I'm big on making sure that our organization is financially fiscally sustainable and stable. So I have an investment account for our organization, because it's important that what we do have in that time, that we're allowing it to grow. I don't believe in the whole bringing a dollar, spend a dollar model. You won't be able to survive on that.
It's not sustainable.
It's not, and you won't be around for very long. So I'm big on that. I'm big on, when we do have an abundance, not just going out and like purchasing all new things. And I'm the kind of girl that, look, we need something, I'll get on Facebook Marketplace. Okay, I got on Facebook Marketplace the other day because we needed a coffee table for our nonprofit lobby downstairs. And so this nice woman, it was $100 table, and I'm like, oh, I'll come to your house and get it. And so I head on up to the north part of the county, North Florida, to North Palm Beach, to go get it. And when she asked me, she's like, what are you going to do with this? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to use it for our lobby for my nonprofit. And she goes, I can't charge you, just take it. Bonanza, free coffee table. But those are the kinds of things that we do, versus me going to Wayfair and blowing $500 on a coffee table,
And that's a great lesson for all businesses, is to be resourceful.
Yes.
I remember out of college, I worked in finance, and I read a great book that talked about Bear Stearns. And the CEO was a gentleman by the name of Ace Greenberg of Bear Stearns at that time, big Wall Street firm. And I'll never forget, in one of the chapters it talked about that Ace trained all the staff members and all of Bear Stearns that anytime they received correspondence with letters, and it had a paperclip, to take the paperclip off and keep the paperclip.
That is
right.
I
So
love
Bear Stearns,
that.
in theory, and I might be botching the story a little bit, never purchased paperclips.
I love
right? And here's
that.
this huge Wall Street firm. But
That's
be
what I'm saying.
resourceful, and this is a great lesson too for businesses. One of the things that I found in running my business is office supplies. Right? Everybody's always needing to order office supplies. But are you really needing to order those
Exactly.
office supplies? Well, we don't have any more paper. Okay, have you looked at the backup area? Have you looked at Madean's closet?
Exactly.
Have you looked at David's office?
Exactly.
Right, so that's a great, great lesson. What's the hardest leadership decision that you've had to make inside Extraordinary Kids Foundation, and what did it teach you?
I think one of the hardest decisions for me was when we had to open the Provision Center, because at the time it was a need, but financially it was a hard decision because it required me to invest a lot of capital into making the space ready to be able to serve the individuals. I had to, do the flooring, and I had to get purchase freezers to be able to store the food, and shelving, and like all the things, right? So there comes a time where you're like, there's a need, but how do I do this? And is me doing this going to have an adverse effect on the organization or our financial standing, right? So that was a hard leadership decision for me. But with me, I led it with my heart, but I also led it in a way, like you said, that was resourceful. I did whatever I could do that I was able to get discounts for. I was able to shop around. I'm looking at what's the place? BrandSmart. I'm doing all the things. So even though I knew it was going to be a large financial undertaking for us, I also did it in a way that like it was as painless as I possibly could get it. Because what I don't want is to look at finances and say, okay, we can't do that. And then, next thing you know, we're not doing what we're supposed to do and not expanding the mission and impacting the mission. And I really truly feel that when people see what we're doing, it makes them want to come alongside us, right? And so I feel like people are going to see it, and even hearing today, like somebody might call me and say, hey, here's a check, and I can get more freezers. So I think that's one of the biggest things in leadership is just knowing when to take the risk and when to, take a calculated risk and do what's necessary to make sure that the risk pays off and is successful.
How do you calculate and assess that risk? Because
to be
that's
honest,
a great statement, and I think it's something that most entrepreneurs and business people run into. We all know that it takes money to make money, so you do have to invest and take a chance.
Yes, you do.
And make an investment in something that might be scary at the time, but you also have to do some due diligence and have some data help drive that decision.
Absolutely.
How are you doing that?
And I think it's one of those things where you never really get it right, and there's no particular formula. Like, I wish I could say if A plus B equals C, then do it. But unfortunately, that's not the case. I think you look at your organization, you look at where you are, what your goals are for the future, and the impact that you want to make, and you literally just have to say, okay, it's either door A or door B. Either I do it or I don't. And there's lots of times when you'll make a decision and it may not go the right way, but you've still gotten data, you've still learned from it. And I think in this industry, especially in the nonprofit world, like, we're constantly learning from the risks that we take, and it helps you to take the next risk. And I'm a risk taker. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a person that will see things and say, yeah, I think I'll try that, because I believe in myself. I believe in my team. I believe in our mission. And so I'll push the envelope. I'm not a play it safe kind of girl.
That's good. We have to be. I remember early on at the Symphony, for me, one of the big chances that we took, or a big risk that we took, was, I think it was in my first or second year, and the Cultural Council of Palm Beach County reached out to us, and they said, we have an opportunity to do a performance that's a surprise performance at the Boca Raton Resort for the Governor's Conference. And we have the ballet, and we'd like to have the symphony, and there's going to be this guest performer. So I said, us not having the money at that time to send an ensemble down there, we're in. Right, because in the early days we were trying to create visibility, get people to know about the symphony, and be able to get people involved, engage them, right, educate them, entertain them, which is the 3 pillars of our mission. So we go down to the Boca Raton. We don't understand who this surprise guest artist is with the ballet. We go through the rehearsals with ballet. Everything's perfect, and then all of a sudden Vanilla Ice comes out. Right, and for us in the symphonic world, for us to be able to do Ice Ice Baby, we arranged it, right? We orchestrated it, and we did it. And for us, it was such a big risk because we didn't have the money at that time to be able to make the investment for those musicians. But then, in about 6 or 7 months, it had 50,000 views on YouTube. And for us, that was a catalyst. It's sort of interesting to look back now and realize what a big deal that was at the time, taking that risk. Obviously, you bring up the point, which I think is very important, Madean. They have to be calculated risks, right?
Absolutely.
And the airplane that I have found as a leader, and I'm interested to hear what you have to say, is flying that plane of analysis paralysis, which is the analysis, which is one wing, and then just jumping out of the plane, the risk on the other. How are you flying that plane?
Oh, listen, every day I try to have my parachute on my back, and then I say sometimes, I forgot it, but I'm jumping anyway. It is hard, and you do get to that point where I am big on making decisions and not taking too long to make decisions, because sometimes, like you said, you could have sat around and then that decision could have passed you. That opportunity could have passed you by. So I'm big on not letting decisions, keep me in paralysis, keep me from moving. So for me, like I said, I'm constantly trying to jump and take the risk, calculated and within reason, but I do it scared. I do it whether I want to or not, because I just know that the mission has to move forward. What we're trying to do has to be done.
How big is your executive team or leadership team?
It's not that big, actually. I run a very lean, mean machine, so it's about 4 people.
How much will you involve those 4 people? In the big decisions.
In the big decisions, I do get feedback, but I'm also I temper feedback, because I also understand that not everybody has the risk tolerance that I have, right? And that's big. It's just like if you talk to certain people, they may talk you out of a decision. If you come to me, I'm gonna say, "Do it, David, do it," right? So when I'm talking to people, I kind of like to I take advice with a grain of salt. I take it, I listen to it, but I never allow people to deter me. Like if I really believe in something and I really believe that this is gonna work, I'll just be like, okay, well maybe we can do it this way, but let's do it,
I think that's important, right? One, we have to take feedback.
Yes.
The term that I like to use, Madean, is filtration.
Yes, I love that term.
So I'm a filter. So if you come to me and you say, David, here's all of my feedback, and you dump it on me, I want to be able to filtrate it, get rid of the impediments,
Yep.
right, the bad stuff, but then there might be something in there that's really, really good that we can hold on to. You and I are both trustees
Yes.
of the Palm Beach Chamber, which is an amazing chamber. How important has community and peer network and networking been to sustaining what you do?
It's beyond important. Meeting you is going to allow me to bring a whole different spin to our organization in what the symphony does. Meeting Charles Bednar from Place of Hope allowed me to expand, and he actually gives me resources to be able to further my pantry. So I'm constantly, through the chamber, meeting other CEOs and other nonprofit leaders that allow me to get alongside them and partner with me to expand the mission. So I believe in collaboration. I honestly do not feel like we can do any of this by ourselves. And so without that, having other people that know what you're going through, know what it's like, and you've already experienced something that you can give me advice on, it's important. When you operate in a vacuum, you're missing this world of opportunity and so many amazing people that can pour into you, give you, I feel like it's like wind beneath my wings almost, So,
It is. At the Symphony, part of our core values and cultural behaviors are partnerships and collaborations. And I always use the term that higher tides raise all ships.
Love that.
And it really is. And I love what you said, because we can't do it alone.
No, we
in
can't.
the nonprofit space, we have to collaborate. Just like we're going to explore the Palm Beach Symphony collaborating with you.
Yes.
And the great work that you're doing. So that's
Yes.
something that I'm looking forward to.
So excited
and
about
think
that.
about the impact that it will make in the community.
That's what I'm
right?
saying.
For you,
I
for
mean,
our donors, for the consumers.
I'm telling you. And I
so-
have so many ideas.
Good.
When I tell you, I
Good.
went home that night and my mind was just,
Typical for an entrepreneur. Yeah. So we'll have another meeting for a think tank session to be able to blueprint all of this. You have your 10-year anniversary for Extraordinary Kids Foundation coming up in September.
Yes.
What do you have planned?
Well, we're going to do some kind of celebration because we got to celebrate the impact. We've had so many stories that have been amazing, so many lives, so many children's lives, so many adults' lives, so many families' lives that have been touched. So I want to memorialize that. I want to celebrate it in some major way. I just haven't fully figured it out yet, but it's going to be something, and you're invited, of course.
And that will
We're
be
thinking
here?
maybe October. We're not sure yet.
Okay.
I'm actually working on the venue piece of it right now. We just looked at the Icon building, the Icon in Riviera Beach, the waterfront.
That's the new one, right? Yeah, it's beautiful.
So we were looking at that one, but I'm thinking I want to do something inside just because, it's Florida.
Weather.
It's the weather and
It is.
everything's just kind of all over the place. So I'm literally mapping all of that out so we can have just a grand celebration and bring in our clientele. Whenever I do events for our foundation, I bring in the clients that we serve. I have like some of the moms speak, things like that. Because listen, they're our why. This is why we do it. So for me, we can't party without them.
Where do you see Extraordinary Kids Foundation in 5 years?
In 5 years, I think we will have helped tens of thousands of more people, special needs children, medically complex children, families that are in need. I just see us growing in a way that expands past our current capacity. I want to get into housing. One of the challenges that is unique to our population is that our children that are medically complex cannot be homeless, David, because if you have a child that's on oxygen and they do not have electricity, let's say, or they're homeless, that is a life or death situation. So one of the things that has been heavy on my heart is being able to have housing for specifically special needs families with medically complex children. I went to the county about it before. I've been telling anybody that would listen. The shelters are always full. The special needs shelters, forget about it. And so I feel like that is something that my organization is uniquely suited to take on. We just need the proper support and the proper funding to make it happen.
How would you do it? Dream. I always like to say dream.
Dream.
So meaning, is that something you would work with the county on? You'd
No.
work with local municipalities.
If the county wants to work with
A major
us.
foundation or donor would give you a
Yeah.
huge donation, and that would kickstart it.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
does that look like?
So, I've already been doing the groundwork and the research on this. So I actually looked at, there was a building very close to here that used to be the old Jerome Golding building. It's like 9-10 acres, 50,000 square feet. I'm like, oh, this would be a great campus for what I want to do. And I actually approached the county about it at the time. Anyways, it got sold to an apartment developer. So, it can go either way. If the county has a piece of property they want to give to us, or a building, or if a funder is listening to this and says, let's get behind them. Like, it can go either way. I don't know how it's going to come, but I just know it is. And that's something that I've bought hard hats in faith, because that's me getting ready for what I know is going to manifest itself.
I love that.
Yeah, they're downstairs. I got to show you them. They're
I'm
big.
a huge believer in manifestation.
Yeah.
Did you get the shovel too?
No, not yet. Just the hard hats.
Okay, then we're going to Home Depot.
Yes, we need the shovels, gold ones.
What do you want the parent, the entrepreneur, or the nonprofit leader listening right now to carry away from your story?
I want them to carry away that our circumstances do not define our future. I want them to carry away that the things that happen to us does not have to be a limitation. It can actually be the catalyst. It can actually be the fuel that ignites you, the fuel that causes you to look at your life in a completely different way, and the fuel that causes you to create an impact that is far beyond you. I'm one person. I don't know how long I have left on the earth, right? But my impact is infinite. The things that I have put in place, the things that I have done so far are infinite, right? And I feel like that's what we all need to step into. What have you been called to do? What is that idea that you've been thinking about, that you maybe haven't executed? Who are the people that can benefit from you being born? I'm big on legacy and impact. Huge. And so for me, legacy isn't what you did. It's what stays around because you lived, because you were born. So, yeah.
Incredible. Madean Gilzene, thank you so very much for being on Waves of Success. This
Thank
has
you
been
for having
unbelievable.
me.
Everything I knew it would be. I knew it would be inspiring, motivating, fun. Atoms collide.
Yes.
We're off to Home Depot to get the shovel.
To get the shovels, and we're going to spray paint them gold.
Absolutely. And more to follow with our partnership and collaboration.
Yes.
We're going to continue to explore as to how we
that.
can help each other and add value
Yes.
to the missions that we're doing. But I want to thank you.
Thank you,
for being on the
David.
show.
Thank you so much. Such a blessing.
My pleasure.